Hello again, welcome to my channel. My name is Jeremy Lee, and if you are a student in school who are into history subject, or you're just interested about history subject, but then again, just the compact size of it, not too much detail, then this channel is for you. Now, without further ado, yes, I made a video about Crusade before. I provide you the link over here. I provide the link over there if you want to watch the first part of the Crusades. Now, there were about like 7 Crusades. I will not be able to cover all of them. So today, I'm just gonna mention about a little bit about the Second Crusade and more on the Third Crusade, which is like the most fun one, which is the most interesting one. The Crusade was launched by the Western Christendom, supported by the Church, of course, being represented by the Pope, with the goal to defeat the Muslims in the Holy Land and rescue the Byzantine Empire, which is at the time they were surrounded by the Seljuk Turks Muslims. With that to purpose, they launched the First Crusade. And the First Crusade, despite of they have like 1001 reason to be failed, but then again, it turned out to be one of the most successful crusades. Of course, it creates also troubles, and it creates also kind of like destructions and unnecessary suffering upon the innocent people. Anyway, with that success story, that it kind of like it encouraged the rest of the Western kingdoms to have another crusades. And the Second Crusade happens years later after the First Crusade was successful, because one of the Christian city by the name of Kingdom of Edessa fall into the hand of the Seljuk Turks. Now, in return, the Western Christendom, also sponsored by the church, they launched the Second Crusade. Now, the Second Crusade, of all of the participants and of all of this enthusiasm, it was the largest. Of course, after they heard the First Crusade, they now got excited and they launched the Second Crusade with more participants, with more firepower, with more swords, with more men. And unfortunately, the Second Crusade, it was a disaster. It was a big disaster. If we have to pinpoint what is the source of the problem, is of course is the lack of the unity, is the lack of the cohesive force between all of the participants of the Second Crusade itself. They don't get along, so they were being disorganized and they were being scattered. It's so much easier for the Seljuk Turks to defeat them. So Second Crusade was famous for this thing, okay? It has the most participants. It was the most ambitious. At the same time, it was like the biggest failure ever, somehow. Imagine that you're wearing a heavy armor, typical European knight, and then you have to walk in the desert without water and bake under the sun. And as the Seljuk Turks, they are more familiar with the terrain. They were teasing these Crusaders by wasting a cold water on a sand. Now, despite of the fall of Edessa, there's still one remaining city that's still being controlled by the Christians, is the city of Jerusalem itself. The city of Jerusalem was being controlled by the Christian king, known as the King of Jerusalem, King Baldwin. In 1187 AD, the city of Jerusalem fell into the hand of Muslims, which is, it officially became the mark of the Third Crusades. The city itself, the city of Jerusalem itself, it fell into the hand of Muslims, but things are going to be a little bit more complicated now. Things are going to become more interesting right now. It fell not into the hands of the Seljuk Turks Muslim, but it fell to another fractions of Muslims. Yes, at that time, there were several fractions of Islam, and Seljuk Turks is one of them. They are predominantly become the threat for the Byzantine Empire in the Asia Minor. Now, this fraction that captured the city of Jerusalem is another Islamic fraction, known as the Fatimid Caliphate. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is wrong. Fatimid Caliphate, which is the name Fatimid itself is named after the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad himself, someone by the name of Fatima. So they claim, the Fatimid Caliphate claim they are the righteous successors of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, at this moment, they have the strong base in Egypt. Yes, Egypt is become like their stronghold. The fall of the city of Jerusalem, it was being done by this one great character. He's a military genius, and his name is Saladin. Okay, Saladin Yusuf bin Nuruddin. I'm sorry again if my pronunciation isn't my thing. Okay, all right, moving on. Now back in Europe, a new pope by the name of Pope Clement III decided to launch another crusades. Now this time there are three interesting personality here, and then these three they are big deal. They are very powerful. They are also important person in Europe. First one is Frederick Barbarossa, the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. Now the name is Frederick Barbarossa. I know some of you guys probably chuckling like,
Oh my god, the name is Barbarossa, haha, Barbie.
now Barbarossa means red, aka Frederick the Red. Now what does that mean, the red is? Because he has a massive kind of like, awesome beard. I wish I have a beard like that. Okay, you have a beard, and then the beard is kind of like, the color is reddish. So reddish, get it? Like Barbarossa, Frederick the Red. He was a big deal because he was the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. A little bit about Holy Roman Empire. This kingdom, this Germany kingdoms, they are not perfectly united. They are still very independent. So to unite all of them, I mean, they need someone that very respectable. They must have someone that really strong. That person is of course Frederick Barbarossa. That itself is a cool. Oh, by the way, Frederick Barbarossa, he was about 70 years old. Imagine 70 years old tough grandpa wearing armor with the massive manly beard. The second interesting personality is someone by the name is the French king by the name of Philip II or Philip Augustus. Now King Philip II also have a friend. He had a buddy. Now his friend is someone by the name of Richard the Lionhearted. Now Richard the Lionhearted, he was the king of England. Now at this moment, England at this moment, they have a unique relationship with the French monarchy. Why is that? Here's the thing. Remember like William the Conqueror? Okay, now William the Conqueror is now Richard the Lionhearted is the descendants of William the Conqueror. Now what does that mean? It means Richard the Lionhearted, yes, he is the king of England, but at the same time, he's also the vassals of the French king, which is King Philip II. People of England love him so much, adore him so much. But funny thing is, Richard the Lionhearted lived for about not more than a year in England. He spent the most entire of his life in France, and a huge portion of his life he spent most of his time having adventure or having a battle in the battlefield. So this Richard the Lionhearted, he's also a big deal here. Think it this way, Richard the Lionhearted, he's probably the perfect Christian hero would look like. He's handsome, he's muscular, and according to the story that he can fight someone he can fight an armor. He can fight multiple person with only one fist, okay, with only bare hand. And he was also adventurous, and then he also saved the princess, okay, who saved the damsels. The idea of riding a white horse with a shiny armor, well, not really shiny armor, and then rescuing the damsels. He is the perfect embodiment of the chivalry knight should look like. And not just that one, Richard the Lionhearted, whenever he was in the battlefield, he charged. He was at the front line of the charge. He will jump with his head first into the battlefield, rather than just waiting in the back line in safety, watching everything, and then decide later should he run away or not. That is 1, 2, 3, and then now the fourth character that I'm going to describe a little bit some more is the Saladin himself. Now at this moment, many of the Europeans thought that Saladin, he is a monster. Saladin, most of the Europeans at the time, they antagonized Saladin. He's a cruel monster. He was a cruel person. In fact, Saladin, he was not. He was a very gentle person that he loved to study. His first experience in a battlefield when he was 8 years old. Now, Saladin, at 8 years old, he led a battle. He led a warriors in a battle, and then he won. Wow, this guy is really genius. And he is far from violence. He is very wise. And he respects his enemies. He will treat his enemy fairly. And so these three men of the Christendom onward for crusades to the Holy Land. So Frederick Barbarossa, apparently he's 70 years old. He's an emperor. He decided not to take the boat. He decided to walk. Yes, walk all the way from Germany all the way to the Holy Land, marching. That's how manly and tough he is. Unfortunately though, on one occasion, Frederick Barbarossa, he and his men need to cross the river. They haven't drank for quite some times, and then the climate there is completely different than back in Europe. So it's hot, and dry, and then they desperately need water. So as they try to cross the river, some of the men, they dive in and they drink and they swam. They swam, and then they were joyfully kind of like, enjoying like the fresh water of the river, including Frederick Barbarossa. Unfortunately, when he jumped in, he forgot to remove his armor. So what happened with Frederick Barbarossa? This 70 years old tough guy, he died of drowning. What happened with the rest of his troops and his followers? They decided, I think we're going back to Germany. We're not gonna go to Holy Land. Let's go back, because what can we do right now? Frederick Barbarossa, our emperor, died. So they returned to Germany. From all of these three participants now, just only left two. Philip II and also Richard the Lionheart. Now these two guys are buddies, okay? And somehow there was this kind of like little bit drama. There's this kind of like drama between Philip II and Richard the Lionheart. The drama goes like this. So Philip II, he shipped Richard the Lionheart, his best friend, with his sister. Yes, his youngest sister, someone by the name of Alice. So Richard the Lionheart and Alice was being shipped by Philip II. It will be good story if that happens. However, somewhere along the way, Richard the Lionheart, he fell in love with another woman and then married with this woman. And of course, Alice is sad and Philip II is sad. And because of that one, Philip II, the relationship between Philip II and Richard the Lionheart, it start to crack. Like there's this kind of like awkward moment between them. And somehow, they were kind of like stuck together throughout this crusades, throughout this expedition. Oh, by the way, they choose the sea route as they arrive in the city of Acre. Wait, let me check the pronunciation. And with this broken relationship between Philip II and Richard the Lionheart, over this kind of like awkward love relationship between Richard the Lionheart and King Philip II's sister, and also this lady by the name of Berengar, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and with over this lady. And so Philip II decided, you know what, Richard the Lionheart, I think I'm going home back to France. I'm not going to help you with the Holy Land. So Richard the Lionheart, he was alone now. He and only him and his small group of his troops. Frederick Barbarossa left, Philip II left, so it was only him try to capture the city of Jerusalem by himself. And to make things worse, he was badly outnumbered by Saladin's troops. Here's the cool things about Richard the Lionheart. Saladin and Richard the Lionheart, they met in the battle of Acre. Now this city of Acre is very important because it's a port city. Whoever capture the city, whoever take the city, then they will open the channel, they will open the way in the sea route to Holy Land. Saladin and Richard the Lionheart, they never met in person. They communicate to each other by sending messengers. In the Battle of Acre, Richard the Lionheart, he won the battle. Even though he was badly outnumbered by Saladin's troops, he proved to Saladin that he himself, he was not to be underestimated. He was different than the rest of the Crusaders. After the battle, Saladin offered a truce or some kind of a treaty, some kind of an agreement. Richard the Lionheart agreed that he will handing over the Saracen prisoners. Now, actually, Saladin, he was testing Richard the Lionheart by procrastinating the agreement. So when Richard the Lionheart sending his messenger to Saladin asking when is the exact day that they should exchange the prisoner, Saladin always postponing the answer. So Saladin always finding an excuse not to answer the messengers. So Richard the Lionheart, he could not wait any longer, and not just because he was impatient, because Richard the Lionheart, he knew Saladin trying to buy some time to strengthen his troops, so he will take over the city of Acre. So Richard the Lionheart mercilessly killed all of the prisoners one by one. I know that is very ruthless, but Richard the Lionheart give a message to Saladin that he's not an opponent that can be underestimated, that he really serious about his work. And in fact, yes, he was a fearsome enemy. He was like equally fearsome enemy of Saladin. Saladin met an equal opponent, equal rival. So they become frenemies, and they become like very intimate frenemies. But they never met in person, but both of them, they develop this kind of like strange relationship that mutually respect each other and care for each other, even though they are enemies. There was a time that Saladin saw Richard the Lionheart fight in the battle without a horse. Apparently, the horse that belongs to Richard the Lionheart was killed in the battle. Saladin immediately, he stopped the battle. He asked his men, he asked his troops to retreat, and then asking for a ceasefire, asking for a truce. Now that night, Saladin gave his personal horse to Richard the Lionheart. Very kind. According to the Saladin, he would not going to take advantage of Richard the Lionheart. He want his enemy, Richard the Lionheart, also have an equal chance to win in the battle. This mutual respect, it didn't end up there. Like another time, Saladin saw that Richard the Lionheart, he was ill, he was pale, and then he was kind of a little bit slow, and then he was kind of like not usual. Now at this day, like Saladin saw that Richard the Lionheart was not feeling well. So again, Saladin called off the day. He asked for a truce, and that night, Saladin sent his messenger with a doctor, a medicine, a tropical fruit, and a very precious thing that can be found, that very rare to be found during those times, a snow. Why Saladin gave this kind of thing? Because Saladin want Richard the Lionheart to be fully healed. So again, it was this kind of like strange relationship that they have, mutually respect to each others. Ultimately, Saladin and Richard the Lionheart, they stuck in a deadlock. They were having a stalemate. Saladin, he could not get rid of Richard the Lionheart and the Crusaders away from the Holy Land. And at the same time, Richard the Lionheart, he cannot capture the city of Jerusalem because simply he do not have enough troops to capture the city of Jerusalem. So both of them stalemate, and finally both of them, they decided to have an agreement. They finally settled for a peace treaty. The name of the peace treaty is the Peace of Ramla. According to the agreement, Saladin promised to Richard the Lionheart and the Crusaders that the city of Jerusalem are accessible for the Christians, and it's a safe place for the Christians. As for Richard the Lionheart promised to Saladin that he will let Saladin to control the city of Jerusalem, and Richard the Lionheart decided to return to Europe, back to Europe, because at this moment, Richard the Lionheart, he had a problem with his kingdom in England. His brother, by the name of King John, his little brother tried to overtake his throne with the help of his old best friend, Philip II. Sneaky Philip II. So that's what happened. So Richard the Lionheart decided to have to return back home to England. That peace treaty did not last that long, but it's okay lah. No, the peace treaty of Ramla was a good deal, but then again, unfortunately, it didn't last because Saladin, several years later, he died. The ruler after Saladin canceled the agreement, and Richard the Lionheart, not long before Saladin, he died in the battle against King Philip II's army. He got shot by a random arrow right on the shoulder. He got infection, and then he died several days later. That is the story of these two great men of Saladin and also Richard the Lionheart. Both of them are noble. Both of them demonstrate the value of chivalry. Both of them are respecting their enemies. If we stop right there, at superficial level, they seems to be equal. But if we go deeper, into their worldview, then these two great characters have a very different worldview worth to be taking note. For Richard the Lionheart, the very purpose for him to go for the crusade is to defend those who cannot defend themselves, the harassed pilgrims. You put your personal needs and interests aside for others. And meanwhile, for Saladin, he was like representing like the worldview of the Islam itself. As we learn about Islam in the future videos, there's something that drives him to conquering lands, which is the natures of the holy war itself, which is expanding the teaching by any means, including through expansion. So both character was being equally respected. Saladin was being respected in Europe, and Richard the Lionheart also being respected in the world of Islam. However, here's the thing: what is being prized by these two characters is the quality of being chivalry, the quality of being respecting one another by respecting the enemies. It was that value that it was being praised. Now, thank you for watching. Like if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe because every week I'm going to make a new videos. I see you guys next time. Bye bye. God bless you guys.